Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Carly S.
And as always,
that fucks me up every time.
It fucks me up too.
Yeah, man. The S.
You gotta interrupt me, really.
Yeah.
It was the S. It
Not
fucked
you.
me up.
Yeah,
It fucked me up. But yeah, I'm
I
Eric
can't
D.
wait. You know,
What's
I
up?
can't wait until you're in a separate room. I can't
okay.
so I
Okay.
can just shit
Okay.
on you
Okay.
horribly.
Okay, we'll see.
And not feel bad about it. No, I'll feel terrible.
We'll see.
Today we're joined by a very special guest, Sam. How are you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Everybody good? How are you, Carly?
I'm alright.
Okay. How are you, Eric?
I'm good.
Good. I don't care.
Rude.
Where are you from, Sam?
I'm from Ellicott City.
Really
Yeah.
good. What high school did you go to?
I went to Hebron.
Oh, you went to Hebron.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
2007.
Okay. So yeah,
Oh.
same age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Roughly.
06.
I'm 06. You're
Yeah,
05.
I'm 05.
Yeah.
I'm the old one. You're what, 2010?
She's 04
09.
or 9.
09. Okay. I was close. I was giving you younger than you are. You're welcome. Okay. Where are you from? God, I'm
You asked that question.
completely blanking. I know. When were you first introduced to recovery?
It was 2010 in March.
Nice.
Yeah. It was sort of fortuitous. My sort of closest using buddy and I were hanging out one night, and we were sort of like out of drugs and out of money, and he's like, "You want to go to a meeting?" I was like,
What?
"I guess." Yeah. And I got to that meeting, and it was immediately like, "Oh, this is what I was looking for." Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. And how long have you been clean?
It's been 3.5 years now. I had a stretch of 10 years in there, and I went and did a little bit of experimentation.
Some research?
Some research. It was as bad as it was before, if
course.
not worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, I can get to that a little later if I tell my story a little bit. But, yeah, it's kind of cool, though. I found that just the relapse didn't cancel out all the growth and learning. It just put me in a place where I had to, like, dig it back up. Or, like, it, like, pulled a lot of stuff over on
love
top of
that
my head.
opinion. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was, you know, it was an ordeal, but
I'm sure.
I am where I am now. It's a pretty good spot.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, with all that out of the way, turn it over to you. Share your story with us. Take it away.
Yeah, all right. I am Sam. I'm an addict.
Hi, Sam.
Oh, I used a lot of drugs, and
I used to use a lot of. You've always reminded me of Mitch Hedberg. Always, just your tone. I used to use a lot of drugs. I mean, I still do, but I used to.
too. Yeah. No, I was pretty hopeless as an adolescent. I remember being like a kid, even into like middle school, and we did the anti-drug thing in school, and it was like, yeah, drugs are bad. Like, I'm never gonna do drugs. And I had like a grandfather die from alcoholism, and two like a grandfather and a grandmother die from tobacco use, and
Wait.
the other one lived till she was like 100.
Did they have the DARE program in Catholic school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
see
we
now.
didn't get that. I don't think we had the DARE program. We
You
just
didn't
had
have the DARE
regular.
program?
No, we never. Or else I was like out on that day or something. I don't know. We didn't have it.
Oh.
But you know, I was very like anti-drug. But then I got really sick when I was 11 years old, and nobody knew what it was. It was, and I wound up being very isolated and very hopeless. And by the time I was 15, I was just like, just get me out of here. Like I need an escape. And I didn't want to do anything drastic.
What was it?
It was turned out to be Lyme disease, chronic Lyme, and it, you know, I finally was diagnosed when I was 16. But before,
It took them 5 years to diagnose you.
and they diagnosed me based on a test that was taken in 2001, but that was read using the wrong standards.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so it was like 5 years of my life. Plus, at that point, it was so entrenched that it took such a long time to treat it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, because that's a time sensitive disease.
yeah, it really is. It's a pretty nasty one at that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't have any hope, and I had the opportunity to start getting high, and I thought, well, this is my way out. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. You know, I'm not gonna.
What'd you start with?
So I started with pot,
Yeah.
which was my sort of great love with the drugs. I never got that into any like dope, or I messed around with cocaine and a little bit of opiates and stuff, but it never that never took on like a life of its own the way that like for me like smoking pot was enough of an addiction, and like pile on top of that the alcohol and the psychedelics. And it was like, I always look at the gravity of my addiction in terms not of what I was doing, but in what the consequences were that I was willing to tolerate with what I was doing. Like for me, like drinking would be a 3 or 4 day hangover for a lot of the time that I was drinking, but I did it anyways.
Really?
Yeah, it was just because I would get
Is that
really
the
sick.
Lyme disease?
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
Lyme. I would get really sick, and I would, but I would do it anyways. And every time I'd be like, well, it's not going to happen this time.
Yeah.
Until I knew it was going to happen, and I just didn't care.
Yeah, you just didn't give a fuck.
I just didn't care. So I had this dynamic going on. Like I got diagnosed, and there was a lot of hope, and it was like great. But by that time, I was sort of in love with the idea of intoxication.
Yeah.
It was just like and I bought into all of the sort of like propaganda that it like makes you more creative and
Oh yeah,
that kind of stuff.
You have the hippie vibe.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. But I mean, I still like I learned some things from doing drugs, but the price of those lessons was way higher than I would be willing to pay if you asked me to do it again. Yeah. So like, I did this dance for a while where I would like be on treatment and I would get better, and then I would use most of my better to drink and use, and then I would be sick again. And I did that several times. And then when I was 20, I had this big like it felt like the world was shifting under my feet. My best friend, another guy that was sort of like number 3 in our little group, my brother, my girlfriend, and my therapist all moved at least 4 or 5 hours away, and like within a week of each other. And I was just like, I didn't know what to do. And at that very time, very suspiciously, synchronistically, a using buddy came back into my life. I wasn't looking for him. He just showed up.
Yeah.
He just like
That's generally how they happen. They just sort of pop out of the ground.
when the student is ready, the teacher appears,
There
right?
you go.
And we were like such
Yeah,
that
that could be a title, Eric.
I'm not sure that we were. It's not like he was a bad influence on me or I was a bad influence on him. It was both. So like if I was gonna get like level 8 wrecked, with him I would get a level 14, right? So
Hell
we're both
yeah.
at a level 8, but together we combine our forces and we just make.
You were the Wonder fucking Twins.
Yeah, we're the Wonder Twins,
Wait, were you the bad influence? Really? Eric, were you the bad influence?
What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. You were the instigator.
Yes, I was.
And I think we can both guess. You can both guess.
You were an
for me.
instigator as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If there was a problem, I was making it.
Yeah, man.
God, we should have used together, Carly.
Shaking her head. Yeah, man. So I like proceeded to, and I was like on disability at the time. From the Lyme, I was on disability, so I had a little bit of money, just enough to like keep myself stoned, keep myself drunk, and it was just this tear that lasted for about 6 months. And by the end of it, like I was thoroughly convinced. Like the first step was a reality for me. I'd never heard it before, but I was just like, okay, I didn't have the word powerless, but I'm obviously not in control of this. I can't stop. I can't like stop once I start. I can't not start if I'm trying not to start. And I just felt like there wasn't any hope for me, and I was just sort of resigned to being stuck in this trap of the addiction. And the consequences were getting bad, and I was really worried that the Lyme was going to come back even worse because it was starting to.
Yeah.
And then this is about the time when out of drugs, out of money, nowhere to go, 11:30 on a Friday night. My buddy's like, hey, our friend from Main Street. There's like this whole Main Street crew, just a weird people like collected around on Old Ellicott City. And he's like,
You went to bars in Old Ellicott City,
yeah, I
right?
did. I went with Eric actually a couple times.
Used to do the like open mics and stuff, and like
Eric.
You guys started at the opposite end of the hill. You guys honestly did it smart, and I was fucking dumb. You guys started at the top of the hill and went down.
No, it started at the bottom of the hill.
Oh, you started at the bottom of the hill and went up?
Well, Coco.
Coco Lane.
Coco was huge.
That was
man.
the best.
Yeah,
Coco
Coco was
Coco
like
Lane was awesome.
The vibe was great. It was like fancy, but not too fancy.
Yeah,
it
you're
was,
like, oh, there's a balcony here?
Yeah.
oh, there's 4 balconies. What? Why? Why
Yeah.
is there 4 decks?
Great for smokers.
Yeah, it was
Great
great
for
yeah.
for-
smokers.
yeah, and I mean, I smoked like a chimney back then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you know.
same.
Where were you? You were up here in Catonsville at those bars, weren't you?
She was at
You were
Morse
at
Burgers.
the Limelight Inn.
Morse Burgers is rough.
Morse Burgers just has a sign that says bar. That's my favorite part about Morse Burgers. It doesn't say Morse Burgers.
And it delivers.
It does. It does. It does, like...
It's because their grandmother did not want their last name
on a bar?
on a bar.
It's good. See, you know that.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Well,
didn't
because
know
I'm
that.
friends with them, like the
Oh,
family.
really?
Yeah.
My friend Casey, who was in my
Yeah,
wedding, is a Morse Burger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
They also own Shacks, too, right?
No,
We're
that's,
talking about little bars in Catonsville.
no,
Yeah.
I was there all the time, but that's a different.
Person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so
But back to Old Ellicott City.
So yeah, so you're Main Street crewing it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, the
Main Street crew was weird, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
and looking back on, like those types... Because, I mean, we hung out with homeless people, too.
Yeah, multiple suicides, too.
Like, yeah, Ed. Poor Ed.
Yeah, that was... And Teddy, like,
And,
a
yeah.
couple years before that, it was...
Was that a suicide? Like,
Yeah.
that one was? Okay.
Yeah, it was. Oh,
I
for
know
sure.
it, like, it was, like, kind of back and forth because it was a fall, but...
Yeah, but he knew those hills.
Yeah.
He
What
knew
the
those
hell?
hills. Yeah.
He jumped off
7 hills.
one of the 7 hills.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Continue.
Sad
Got really
stories.
depressing really
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
Yeah,
Jesus
it's pretty
Christ.
bad.
Okay.
Let me try to pull it out.
Let's get to some happy using.
So I mean, this was like one of the most important nights of my whole life was when, I mean, this dude came to pick us up and took us to the midnight meeting at the Serenity Center.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Who was it?
It's good to see him, Carl. He came around for a little while and stopped, but
Okay.
but he was there long enough to have an impact on me.
Yeah.
Right? You never know who's going to impact you. And
Mhm.
like, I don't think I even saw him once after that first time he gave me a ride there.
Huh.
And it was just like, you know.
Yeah.
But we went to that meeting. I sat down. I read Who is an Addict. It was just like, you know, everything about it was exactly what my life was. And I had a transformational moment, and I like saw some light in people's eyes, and it was just like step 1, 2, and 3 of like, I knew I was powerless. That wasn't news. But like coming to believe, I believed something about NA was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made a decision to turn myself over to it. All of it happening very much sort of kind of unconsciously or like instinctively.
Mm-hmm.
It was hadn't read the steps. I mean, I guess I'd heard them read with how it works, but like I didn't have any like intellectual knowledge about it. It was just something that happened. And of course you got to go back around and actually work them and actually learn to apply them.
Yeah,
and everything. But the principle was there. And I started going to a lot of meetings, and from that date on, I didn't use for 10 and a half years. And it was a good 10. I mean, it was a hard 10 and a half years, a lot of points, but like I can't imagine what my life would be like if I had not been clean for that time.
Oh yeah.
Like I can't imagine, and it's not good. It's like it would have been, because things were getting dark and they were getting worse, and I was starting to screw around with like heavier club drugs and starting to, you know, mess with dope a little bit, and like that would have taken me out. Like I didn't have the physical capacity to withstand a dope habit. Like it probably would have just killed me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was in fantasy land for the first few months of my recovery though. Like I mean I got some mental health problems that I've dealt with. They're very much under control at this point. But like
What's your diagnosis?
Bipolar.
Bipolar. Well, which type 1 or type 2?
It's like a moderate form of type 1.
Okay.
So it gets
So
bad.
you get some mania.
Get some pretty insane mania, pretty intense, but
That's
I've only
rough.
had one manic episode that was like full blown, and I wasn't like talking to walls and stuff like that. I didn't get that bad.
Yeah.
And I was like together enough that I could convince someone I was fine for about 15 minutes. But
But
any
you're
longer
talking
than
way
that,
too fast. Yeah.
yeah,
You're
and just the stuff like I thought I was filtering out all the stuff that was really obvious, and maybe it was like the most obvious insanity. But like what I was saying, like I told a doctor that I thought I could make space weapons.
Why not?
What?
Well, here's my
I mean,
argument.
you watched.
Okay, I want to
a
hear this
movie.
argument.
You can-
This is going to be good.
If you hand a Glock to a chimpanzee and shoot him into space,
Okay.
It's
That's
not
a space weapon.
It is.
it's technically
Okay.
a space weapon.
Yeah.
That wasn't
All
what I
right.
was arguing. I was mentioning the fact that a friend of mine and I were talking about doing that when we were in middle school. It's a stupid little, little
Though would
adolescent
the
boy
bullet
fantasy.
move in space?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
for sure.
Like
It's still
but
physics.
slowly.
No,
Why?
it's-
It'd probably
Or
move
would it
faster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no
'cause-
Yeah, 'cause
resistance.
there's no resistance.
Yeah,
And it
I
would
mean, if
go
it
forever.
depends on if you're in a space shuttle or not. If you're in the space shuttle, there's still oxygen in there, so
Yeah,
it
still-
might move the same. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
I-
direction? I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Well,
Carly
in
is
any case,
like,
yeah.
"What the fuck am I getting into?"
Yeah, right. We took it there.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah. So it was enough that it was pretty bad. Like it was pretty bad. But for my first 6 months of recovery, I was going to meetings, but I was still hanging out with people that were smoking weed, and like I like passed the blunt. Like, don't do that. Like I didn't hit it. But I passed.
You
it.
were still in the
I was
rotation,
still in
and
the
you were just like, "Oh."
Yeah,
I
don't
do
think I've ever seen
remember
that.
you being around and not getting high with everybody. And it's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
I've
and
never
my-
seen that.
My friend Terrace goes, "Wow, man, you got self-control." I'm like, I have zero self-control. This is not self-control. This is like some kind of grace or something like that. So I was in a grace bubble, and I wouldn't recommend anybody doing that. And I'm really stunned that I did it. But I was just so relieved not to have to get high anymore that I just didn't want to.
I could not have done that.
Like the desire
No
to use
fucking
left
way.
me immediately upon coming to NA.
Yeah.
But I had all these other problems, the underlying conditions and everything to deal with. And I finally, what happened was, I mean, I got a sponsor who had actually been like a teacher of mine before. And
Really?
yeah, it was interesting. And but I wasn't being that honest with him because I wasn't being that honest with myself.
Mhm.
And finally it broke, and like I had this idea I was going to get back together with my ex, and like
Oh, yeah.
it finally came to like just that's not happening, and I just like everything crashed around me, and I was like, there was a guy that had been just listening to me for a while. Like we would go out to dinner and he would just listen. Like we'd go out to dinner as a group after the meeting, after my home group, and I realized, oh, this is the person that I need to sponsor me for real. Like the other guys, like was doing PhDs. Like I can't really sponsor you anymore. This is like the timing was perfect.
Yes.
And I asked the next guy, and it really like was a life-changing thing. I got in a relationship at 10 months clean, which again, it was a bad idea, and it like didn't work, and I like broke it off because I realized it wasn't going to work. And it was long distance and stuff. It wasn't good, but I felt so bad about myself for doing that. Like I just felt like I'm just like, it was just grandiose of like, oh, I just keep hurting people and I can't stop it. And I fell into a black hole, and then I decided I wanted to come out of it, and somebody asked me to chair a meeting like immediately after I started like coming up for air a little bit. And it was another one of these things where like overnight practically there was this dramatic reorientation. And I discovered this book. It's a little trite now, but at the time it was important to me. It was the Power of Now. You read that book? You know?
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. So
I think
it was
Eric's
like,
actually read it. I know of it.
yeah, it's just a primer in like
You wrote
present.
The Power of Habit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The Power Now is just like, you know, kind of a stripped down, non-dual spirituality thing where but the whole point of it is pay attention to what's going on right now, right now. And so that became my focus. And around that time I worked the third step, and I had this just transformation just in these few months, and everything was put me on a footing to have a different life for the next, you know, number of years. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened with the relapse?
Well, I had a
What had
period
happened
of about
was-
what had happened was what me and my ex used to say that all the time. The one from the relapse actually, but
Is that a Maryland saying?
What?
I think it's from a
What
TV
had
show.
happened was, I
think it's
guess.
from a TV show.
Yeah.
Like somebody said that, but so I had about from the time that I got that second sponsor until when I was like, you know, 9 years clean, I didn't have any mental health problems at all. I was a little bit down occasionally, but I was never really up, and I was mostly in the middle and pretty stable. I started having, like, I got really, really burnt out doing this music therapy internship, which is dumb. I was doing it like 50 hours a week and driving to and fro, and I was still like on heavy treatment for Lyme. It was just really stupid to try to do it at that level, and my recovery fell by the wayside because I didn't have any energy. So I wasn't putting my energy into the thing that I need to keep me okay. And by the time I got some energy back, I was already sort of off on, you know, my own trip, and I didn't know that I was sick. Like that's the insidious part about it. Is just like when I'm dry, I won't notice it. I think I'm just like doing some really interesting things. And but anyways, eventually after an up period that wasn't like insanely up, it wasn't like nobody really noticed, but after the fact they were like, yeah, I guess that was kind of weird. You were like, you know, doing a few weird things. And but I was in a really, really low spot for a while. 2020, I was living at this house with one of my best friends, and you know, a friend of ours who owned the house, who was like, you know, letting me live there for a while for free in exchange for like some yard work, and then I got a job, and things were stable and things were good, but then the mania started encroaching in, and I took a couple months off to do a bunch of work around the house for him, like do some drywall, do some painting, and I was by myself in this crazy house for like a month, and I just ramped up. And by the time I was at this point moving back to Pennsylvania to finish an internship, and by the time I got there, I was full blown. Like I had this crazy idea I was going to make this like workshop thing and like help like disadvantaged youth or something. It's just like not a terrible sounding idea, but it's just like it's not what
It's just grandiose.
It's just grandiose. It's not what I was supposed to be focusing on. You know, it's not what I was supposed to be focusing on. And you know, the relapse, you know, happened long before I picked up. But when I picked up, I was on Facebook Marketplace just looking for random crap, as you do when you're manic, and
that's what Eric does, just on the usual.
Yeah, some people that's just some people's bag. But I found this family was giving away a bunch of country records, and I have a cousin who's really into country records, like old vinyls, and I was just like, well, I might like some of them, he might like some of them, I'm gonna go over there and get those. And they were also getting rid of a whole bunch of random stuff, and I took a bunch of like just random trash, like just crap I didn't need. And at the time I'd rented a truck from
I've done that many times.
especially
with vinyl.
Yeah, I'd rented this truck from Home Depot, so I had the capacity. It was like a big like F-250 with this huge like modified bed. But one of the things they're getting rid of was about 6 or 7 gallons of top shelf liquor.
Oh.
And I was like, well, I suppose this is a sign if there ever was one.
There you go.
I started drinking, and you know what happened when I took a drink? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I was like, I guess it's fine.
Possible.
Yeah, but I immediately was drinking and driving. That should have been an indication.
no.
Yeah.
Like, within a few weeks, I had like come back down from. I was.
Wait, what was it? What did you start with?
Oh, it was like a commemorative whiskey from the World Cup in like Dubai or something like that.
That's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. That's a good relapse. If ever there was a good
So you
relapse,
drank
that's a
high
good one.
class.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like
it
very
was-
high
yeah, there you
class
go.
relapse.
Yeah, it was like a little soccer ball shaped container. It was
That's pretty awesome.
that's why
Yeah.
I picked it. I had like a whole bag full of them. I was like, this is the one.
Yeah.
I don't care about soccer, but like, yeah.
It looks
Okay,
cool.
that's fair.
Yeah, man. So it proceeded to spiral out of control. But the thing about this whole time was that the mania was so bad that the drinking was almost like, and this I was smoking too as much as I could. It was almost like a footnote. It was just like, because I mean, it was bad, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if it didn't stop, it would have gotten worse. And I got engaged in this period of time. Like I got reconnected with this girl I dated in middle school. And we had
middle school?
Yeah.
Oh,
We had this whole like, we were supposed to be together and we weren't. And it's just like, you know, so.
Oh man, that'd be bad for me.
Yeah.
If one of my exes from like middle school came back around, I'd be like, oh no, it's unrequited love. I'd be like,
That's
it's the universe talking to me.
Yeah, we had that going on. So she asked me to marry her and I was just like, okay.
She
let's
asked
do it.
you.
She asked you.
She asked me.
She's very progressive.
She
Good
was,
for her.
She was supposed to be
More
the
women,
stable
any
one.
women out there listening to this, more women need to start
Yeah.
proposing
Yeah.
to men.
She did it
Agree.
sarcastically though. It was kind of funny. She's like, marry me. And I was like, wait, are you serious? She was like, yeah. I was like, okay. You know, and this had been after like a couple weeks of being back together, and like she was in Florida, so we didn't even see each other until like she came up for a couple weeks, and I think she grounded me. She sort of stabilized me for a while. And,
Why?
prevented
It
things
seems
from
like
getting
all
worse.
your girlfriends live in other places.
So wait,
From
hold on.
what it's
Just
like,
these two I've mentioned.
just these
yeah.
two. Okay.
How
Yeah,
did
just
you
those
How did
two.
you propose to MC?
I didn't say it. I just held out the ring.
Where?
On top of Dan's Rock in Frostburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I was taking pictures of her, and then I was like, "Oh, turn around," and I just had the ring.
Oh,
I didn't ask though.
okay. What about? How did Garrett propose to you?
I don't remember what he said.
Where was
I think
it?
I blacked out.
Where was it?
National Harbor.
Okay. You blacked out.
I think I did.
Aww.
That's kind of adorable.
Well, the day before the
cute.
world shut down.
Oh, it was 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was March 15th,
Yeah.
2020.
Mine was in Yosemite. Same. I didn't say anything. I tried to do it in a selfie like an idiot. But anyway,
I don't know.
back
He
to
said
you.
a lot. I have no idea what he said.
Yeah.
So wait,
All
now,
I remember is
did
him.
you get married?
Back to you, Sam.
No, we
Sam.
didn't. Oh, yeah,
No.
no, we didn't. I probably would have done the courthouse thing, but she was a little more grounded than I was at that point in time. She's like, wait until she's like, I got some stuff I'm trying to get ready and get in place. Let's like wait for that. She's a sweet girl, very sensitive and very, just very kind. We weren't a good match, but I, nothing but I don't know if it's love, but like I have gratitude for her being there.
Yeah.
You know, and she tried her best to help get me in a good place because I really wasn't in a good place at that point in time. So, but my last, I don't know when the last day I used was.
And so that was during 2020?
It was
sorry.
2020.
Who called it
2021.
off? Who called the engagement
I did,
off?
yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
this was during the pandemic?
This was during
Like-
the pandemic.
like
it was
full-
during lockdown.
Okay, during lockdown.
Yeah,
Okay, that
so-
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know what the last thing I used was. I did ketamine.
Oh.
Yeah, I did ketamine. It wasn't a whole lot. It
Down
was
a
like
hole.
somebody came over in the middle of the night and they were like, I have a little bit left. And I was like, all right, I'll do whatever you have. And
It's enough to fuck up your day.
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Ugh.
that was, but I don't even know when that was.
That was
so-
a resounding yuck by all three
Yeah.
of us. It was
Yeah.
actually pretty amazing.
Though
Yeah.
I do see positive like studies
In a therapeutic,
like,
yes, in a
Sure, I don't
therapeutic
wanna
shit
shit-
setting is
I don't want
entirely
to shit on
different
it,
than-
but in a
Yeah.
recreational setting,
yeah, I did it twice and it was fucking horrendous twice.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. But one time I just got a really bad nosebleed. But I'm in a K-hole and my face is bleeding, which is like not a good combination.
Oh god.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
How is it fun? That's
It was
kinda funny.
kind
damn,
of.
you're
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. You know.
In a dark sort of sadistic way.
I see the humor in that. Fuck you, Eric.
I just see you trying to like trying. You know,
I can see you just
'Cause
drowning on your own blood.
I've been in
Like,
like situations where like everyone's on K except for me, and I'm like the clean one in the room, and like just watching everyone on ketamine. It's like watching people on salvia. It's like kind of hilarious.
Right.
Like it's just like, man, do you guys want to see
I
what
am
you look
so
like?
glad I never used with you. You seem like a piece of shit. Everybody in the room, like, this guy's a dick.
I remember when I stopped smoking salvia and started just watching people smoke salvia. It was
salvia
way
is
better.
Such a terrible drug.
Yeah. Every time I did salvia, I was like, this time it's gonna be good.
It was never good.
I always just felt like I was some sort of a blue collar worker, like I was laying bricks or doing plumbing or like fucking Mario or something
Dude,
like that.
I
you
would
know?
get trapped in like rooms and
Oh,
stuff.
God.
It was so weird. It tasted like fish food too. It's
Yeah.
like
so gross.
the weirdest thing.
Did you ever smoke salvia?
No.
Good, you're lucky.
Yeah, atypical psychedelic.
Yeah.
The
Emphasis
weirdest
on the atypical
thing. I think the weirdest experience you could have is probably salvia.
It's
As far as weird, like just
it's
straight
so
up
fucking
weird.
bizarre. There's no sense. There's no right. It's a terrible fucking drug. Anyway,
Yeah.
you're doing.
They all
you-
are terrible.
Guy, they all are terrible. That is correct. So guy comes over with ketamine. You do ketamine.
Yeah, and that was the last time I used. But I don't know when that was. So my clean date is actually
Ketamine will do that.
yeah.
You have a good clean date as far as like
Yeah, it's the
numerically.
first day of spring.
Yeah, I like it.
What is it?
It's 3/21/21.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Very sweet.
It's a good
And
one.
it's 3 days before my clean date was in 2010.
Oh,
So yeah.
And there's 3. I love it.
Yeah. So, and I still celebrate that original clean date. Like, not like in a meeting, like I've got 14 years, but like, you know.
You should
I
celebrate
celebrate
it.
it because it saved my life. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's like a big thing. So I get to celebrate them both at the same time, you know. But yeah, so I don't know when my last day was, but so my clean day is the first day that I called my sponsor, and it was the day after I broke up with the girl, because it was just like that was the very end of the whole being off on my own trip thing that had been going on for about 6 months, and it was just finally you know come to Jesus kind of thing.
Yeah, back to reality.
Back to reality, back to my, and that sponsor was, I mean, he was great for me, but I'm not with him anymore. He was a very generous person, very insightful. There were some conflicts that we had that just never really got resolved. I still talk to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for the time that after I came back, he was crucial. Like I had a period of about 4 months where I didn't really talk to anybody, including him. I didn't go to meetings. I just went to work. I was working at Sprouts.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a decent job to have. I'm almost finished my time there, but I just went to work and
Those birds are so fucking
came
loud.
home.
They're being mean to each other.
I know, they're being dicks.
They're over here.
There is enough food for all of
For
them.
everybody. Yeah, you should be communists, you fucking birds.
Yeah.
You capitalist turds.
Yeah. Oh man. I didn't participate in my recovery for a few months, and I was as miserable as I thought I could get. And finally, it was like I had this realization. I just kept going to therapy though. I don't know why. It's just like I was like, I'm checked out. I don't care about anything, but I'll show up to therapy. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like something in there was still trying to get better, and I was like doing quality like trauma work in therapy too. It's just got
That's
kind of
good. You know, you have
ridiculous.
a finger on the ledge of, you know, something good.
Yeah, and I had this realization, and I said to my therapist, I was like, there is no alternative to facing life. Either you face life as a, you know, man, woman, you know,
good.
adult person,
The other one's better.
Fuck you.
or you just get chewed up by something that you're not willing to have the courage to show up for in a you know, adult way.
Yeah.
And you know, I'd gotten the shit knocked out of me, and when I came back to this realize, like I was kicked out of school. They gave me a sort of BS degree that was good enough to get me into grad school, but I got kicked out of my program. I couldn't be a music therapist. I had all of this debt from about a week of manic spending, and like
What'd you buy?
I bought a bunch of instruments. I bought a bunch of furniture, a bunch of power tools.
Sweet. That's fucking right.
Like instruments, I'm like, okay, you're a music guy. Furniture, yeah, you need a place to sit. Power tools, very weird. Okay.
No,
Well,
he was
doing-
fixing up the house, dude.
I was
Okay.
doing work. I was
Yeah.
doing that kind of work at the time, so it was a smash
Okay, it is
grab,
a functional spending.
It,
Okay.
Well, kind of. I mean, not really.
You can always justify a good tool.
Here's a thing that shows it wasn't justified. I bought all this stuff from this music store. I just opened a line of credit there and maxed it out instantly. Right?
Yep.
Just like
Yeah, why not?
And
Fuck it, burn it down.
I bought something like 9 guitar slides.
Why?
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 I don't know. Some of them weren't even the right size. Like I wound up giving some of them away to a coworker of mine. I was like, "Here you go." Like I don't have any other use for these. I don't even play slide guitar. Like I don't know what I was
Hey,
thinking. I'm like a fingerstyle guy. I don't do slide. You know?
No, that's weird.
So
Okay.
it was nonsense. But I just had to spend the next period of time just working my way out of that hole that I'd gotten myself in. And you know, it worked out okay. You know?
And that's where you're at today?
Pretty much, yeah. I've gone back to school. I'm doing well. My musicianship has sort of really kicked off to another level. I've been writing on songs like crazy. I'm in a band. I'm trying to record. So
Nice.
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Awesome, dude. All right. Well, we got some questions for you. Carly, what do you got?
The first time you got clean, you said you ran out of money, you ran out of drugs, and was like, why the fuck not? Let's go to NA. But
Right.
what really happened, like, the second time? Like, after that relapse, like, what your come to Jesus moment, what were you thinking, feeling? Like,
Okay, so what happened was I started to realize that like I was in this denial that I was like, I'm not an addict, I'm not an alcoholic, you know, I was just doing my thing. And I started to realize that wasn't true. It was like the mania had finally worn all the way off. Like I'd been in the hospital and like I got better in the hospital, but it wasn't all the way there. And it really started to like finally I was back on the ground and I was just broken. And I realized I needed something. Like I was like, oh, that was a relapse. Like this isn't me being okay. That's a relapse. So I called my first sponsor, the first one that I worked through the steps with, and he challenged me on whether it was healthy for recovering, or at least potentially recovering addict, to be in a relationship with somebody that was using as heavily as the girl I was with. And when he said that, I finally realized I couldn't keep up the illusion anymore. And when I realized I couldn't keep up the illusion, I had a breakdown. I just fell apart, and I called out of work, and my dad took me out to this battlefield in Western Maryland, and we just...
Which battlefield?
Antietam.
Nice. Great battlefield.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And we just I was just sort of cycling through my head, like trying to like, what am I gonna do, like, all day, and that night I think I called her, and I wasn't great about the breakup, but it did what I had to do, I guess. And then it was that next day I realized I needed to call my sponsor and really get honest and start over again.
Nice. All right. What you got, Eric? You're gonna ask some weird ass fucking esoteric question.
No. I'm just gonna ask about Lyme disease, how you're doing today with it, and because I can definitely relate to like chronic disease, but not anything like Lyme. And like my wife has RA, right. And that's just, I see how that completely fucks her system up, and like her immune system's just completely fried. And she'll get other shit too, like shingles or like tuberculosis.
Oh, she got shingles?
She's gotten shingles twice.
Oh my God,
in her eye.
Oh God.
And she got tuberculosis when she was pregnant.
Jesus.
But
I didn't know that.
Like, how are you doing? Because I know like it's the same type of immune like deficiencies.
Yeah, there's an immune
and
component
like
to it. Yeah, it. Well, I was pretty solid from about 2020 to like 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't on any medication for it, and then in the early part of this year, I had started to like sort of get like really tired all the time.
Yeah, the fatigue.
And then I just overdid it one day and had to work 8 hours the next morning, and it was just like it put me in a hole. So I've had to go back and seek treatment again. I'm better than I was, but I'm still like on antibiotics and still like fighting through it.
Do you have to take steroids and stuff for that?
No,
sometimes?
I don't need steroids. I have in the past taken like corticosteroids because my cortisol levels are really low. But this time I'm just doing a combination of like some herbs and some like conventional antibiotics. And I've been like, for a while I was only working like 16 hours a week at my job, and that was sort of all I could handle. Mm-hmm. And I'm back full time now.
Okay,
so
that's
but
good.
I still am not 100%, but I'm getting in that direction.
Yeah.
You know, so where, you know, and I feel confident that I can probably get to a point with this where it's, once again, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
And I'm maybe even better than I was before. So we'll see.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's hard.
From what you were saying, like, about your relapse, like it was just one of the most like healthy, refreshing takes about it. Like how you were like, I didn't throw the time away. It just is what it is. So I mean, what do you think is the process of kind of like changing the stigma around relapse? Because some people, when they feel that like guilt and shame about like, oh, I threw all my time away, it'll just keep them out longer.
It could kill him.
Yeah, and it can kill him. But no, like your take on it is just like, you know, it you didn't throw away all that growth. You just, you know, had to dig it back up, which I love hearing.
Took it sideways. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say maybe part of overturning the stigma is to take away some of the glamour of clean time.
Yeah.
You know, I think I mean, I've heard people share at meetings and they've got like 40 years and they sound like trash.
Yeah.
Right. And I've heard people that have a few months and it's just like, man, this guy's got something I want. Right.
Yeah.
So I think like focusing more on the quality of the present moment and, you know, in sobriety and recovery is like, that's what I would say. Like, that's where my focus is.
That's a great point.
Dude, that hit me so fucking hard.
Because there's people who are
taking
like
away
so new.
Taking away the glamour of clean time. Holy
Yeah.
shit. And because what you just said is like, instead of the quantity, it's about the fucking quality.
Right.
And
because that's like we talk about with Celebrate Recovery and their slips and like how like slips work and like it's like they don't forfeit their recovery.
Yeah.
Right. But in NA or AA, you have to like forfeit your recovery, but you're not forfeiting what you've learned.
Yeah.
Right. Like
it's very an all or nothing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. and I was a little.
We're not telling anybody to go fucking relapse. That's
No.
all I'm saying.
No. But
No.
it's just something not to.
It doesn't
It's
need
not
to be
the
a fucking
boogeyman.
disaster.
It's like a boogeyman right now.
Yeah. I very conceivably could have had like 55, 60 years if I had stayed clean from when I got clean.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, but like, is that really, do I think God is counting time, right? Do I think like that, like,
I like that title.
like, it's just like, it is about that present moment orientation.
Man, you just fucking blew my fucking mind. What do you got, Carly? You got nothing?
I'm just here.
All right, that's fantastic.
Just here today.
That's fantastic.
Here now, right?
Yep.
Ooh, I have manifestations.
Go for it.
Okay.
Told you, I'm just here.
Fuck you, Eric.
Okay.
How has your addiction manifested itself
There you
today in
go.
your recovery?
Today?
Totally gapped it. I was like,
I zoned out on Facebook a little while after getting up.
oh, hell yeah.
I think something that is like an addiction for me is like I woke up and I wasn't tired anymore and I didn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Where like that one will get me because like I really like the feeling of getting out of bed early in the morning, brewing a pot of coffee, getting going with the day.
How early are you waking up?
When I have work, I get up like 7.
Oh,
Or like tomorrow I'll have to get up at 5.
Jesus.
Ugh.
But
On Sunday.
Yeah, I get
Today
up.
I
I get up at like 4.
I woke up at like 8. Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much every day I get up at like 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't
accomplish anything with the fucking extra time. I'm just saying I do.
just do it. Yeah. That's something I would like to work towards is more like, but I also have insomnia. So it's just kind of like, well, if I sleep in a little bit, like you got to make it up somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, you like the feeling of getting up early.
But I don't do it.
Yeah.
But I think that, and that's definitely a manifestation of addiction. If it's just like, like knowing what's good for you and even like experiencing the benefits of it and still doing what isn't good for you.
Ooh.
Yeah. Still doing what doesn't work.
God damn. Anything else? Any other crazy spending?
No, actually, I track every cent that goes out of my wallet.
Wow.
Yeah,
Better than me.
I hate not knowing. I have like a little spreadsheet that I update on my phone. I just don't like it being all like, scattered, and probably just because of that, having to pay all that debt off, I became more fastidious about money, but it's I haven't had any crazy spending. I had to save up to make sure I was good for the school year.
Mm-hmm.
So I did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Nice. What about you, Eric? What you got?
All right, so you're bipolar type 1, which means you should be medicated, right?
Uh-huh.
And you've gotten back on meds, right?
Yeah.
Because you weren't on meds when you were in mania, or were you?
Well,
or were the meds not working anymore?
I stopped taking my meds after I was manic.
Well, yeah.
Not before I was
tracks.
manic. So it was just like I was on a little bit of Seroquel, and a little bit of Seroquel is not going to stop the juggernaut of like a full-blown
mania.
But you were still drinking, like you were using at that time, right?
The using happened after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the using it was like the lid was already blown off, and then I started.
The opening a line of credit and then maxing it sounds like the most manic thing.
Yeah.
like it's
I did
just
it like 3 times.
Yeah.
I did it like 3 times. Yeah, it's because it's like
What do you think
know
of
I
your shoe spending?
I wrote a song about the experience, and the one line is I've got the sun burning a hole in my pocket, because that's what it feels like. It's like you're just like you just got like all the power in the universe.
Yeah.
So, like,
But there's consequences
God,
to that.
oh my god. Oh, it's not worth it. It feels pretty great, but it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Plus, like, I was trying to be all creative when I was manic, and I did some things that were interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about creativity is it requires a whole lot of organization and discipline to really
Yeah.
pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, whatever crazy ideas I had that might have been kind of interesting, and most of them weren't that good. And it's probably the problem with mania is that you don't have a filter. And, like, they've confirmed this. This is Carl Jung's idea that the psyche loses its capacity to differentiate between any values that it has in its stream of consciousness. And they've confirmed this neurologically, that the part of your brain that says that's a bad idea is turned off.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just...
Everything's a good idea.
So I just had
Yeah.
like all these terrible songs. I wrote a few good ones, but like
Oh.
mostly just terrible songs. And just dumb stuff, and I did some interesting art, but I'd almost like, so I'm on medication. Yeah, I'm on medication. I don't want to do that again. And my my psych is like, if you keep doing what you're doing, and you're gonna be fine. And he's like, it was also told me, it's like NAA save your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like no doubt about that, like in multiple ways. Because that's for me like my biggest temptation for a relapse is like psilocybin or LSD.
Yeah.
But I like would be rolling the dice as to whether that's going to hotwire a manic episode. So it's just like even beyond just the like cost of a relapse.
Yeah, your brain is wired a little bit differently for that sort of shit.
I can't, and I'm just like also like I've done enough of them already to get whatever benefits I was going to get. Like it's not going to get any better. I'm not going to, I just whatever usefulness it has for people in like terminal illness or whatnot that I'm.
Well, there is. I agree with like the terminal illness ones. Like that's amazing. Those studies.
Really
and with depression, I've seen like really impressive things with depression.
Yeah, it's in phase 3 clinical trials. Like it's probably going to be legalized for medical use within like a year or 18 months or something like that.
Yeah, and the microdosing thing is fascinating too. I'm not gonna lie.
But for me,
for you,
like I can't
your brain
do it.
isn't wired.
Yeah,
My brain's not wired.
Is it worth the gamble?
It's not.
Yeah,
It's not worth the
exactly.
gamble. It's like even if I was at the end of my life, it's like, do I want to spend the last 3 months of my life?
You want to be Huxley?
Oh right.
I was listening to one of our podcasts where we were talking about Huxley.
Huxley taking the 100.
He's
the
a
100.
hero,
What
man.
was 100 UCGs?
Yeah, so
whatever,
it was Huxley, JFK, and C.S. Lewis,
who all died on the same day.
on the same day.
On the same day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is pretty fucking amazing.
all died
and
on the same
JFK
day.
stole all the headlines.
All of them.
What a dickhead. Headless fuck.
He got
Jesus
shot.
Christ.
He wasn't even on acid.
Jesus Christ. That was
Yeah,
so
he got
dude.
shot in
I know,
two
he wasn't even
different
on acid. He
ways.
just got shot. That's fucked up. I'm sorry. JFK, that was rude. I apologize. Your wife was lovely. Fuck, I don't know what I was just gonna ask.
What were you gonna ask? You?
Oh, okay. Yes, I do. All right. So you really have kind of like a 3-pronged recovery in your life. You kind of have, your physical with your Lyme's disease, and tracking that for however many years, and you have your mental health recovery, working on that, and then I guess your spiritual, recovery in Narcotics Anonymous, I guess, like just sort of mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
What kind of what are some parallels between like all 3 of those recoveries that like you use to balance them off each other?
I mean, I would say the biggest part about it is just not thinking of them as separate things.
Nice.
Like I can understand the distinction, right? I mean, and I'm not gonna I've made the mistake before of thinking if I just got the spiritual lined up, and it says this in the big book in a very specific context. You get the spiritual sorted out, the mental and physical work out too. They're talking about the physical problem of like being drunk all the time and all that stuff. It's just your body. It's not like if you have rheumatoid arthritis or Lyme disease, it's gonna work itself out because you found Jesus, right?
Yeah.
But
That's
why
that book needs an update.
I've sort of had that. I've had that problem of thinking
With
before.
Jesus?
No, I'm cool with him. But if I just thought like if only I'm spiritual enough, it's gonna solve all my other problems. And it's like no, it's like it's more of the spirituality is an invitation to face all of your problems with a certain kind of dignity and resolve.
Oh.
And so there's a guy named Ram Dass who was a
Yes.
Yeah, Ram Dass says he wrote a book called Grist for the Mill, and the grist is the part that's like it's breaking up the seeds and getting it out of the hull, and so the difficult experiences we have in our life are actually part of the process for us to break down the stuff that we're trying to work through, and so I've with it all comes back to being present for me. Like when I am dealing with physical symptoms. Especially at work, if I'm like feeling like shit and just trying to get through 8 hours on my feet, it's always a matter of, okay, well, right now I'm making tuna salad.
Okay.
But I'm not even making tuna salad. Right now I'm cutting open a packet of mayonnaise. Right now I'm not even cutting open a pack of mayonnaise. I'm picking up a pair of scissors. Like it's like breaking things down. And I think there is a neurotic way to do that, but it's more like if you just pay attention to what's happening, the idea of the whole picture is like an idea that we need to have. Like if I don't have an idea of what I'm doing, then I'm not gonna be able to do it. but stepping out of the idea a little bit and just getting into where am I right now, and just staying where I am right now and feeling in the body. This is helpful for the mind and the body, feeling sensations of like, am I overdoing it? Do I need to take a walk? Something obvious, like am I hungry or thirsty? And then that translates over into the mental stuff of like, am I a little off? Like, does something, because when I'm a little off, it's like my mind isn't sitting on my body properly. And I can like, by getting into the body and feeling deeply and just sort of moving with that and moving with the breath, the mind settles, usually. You know? And I know that if it won't settle and I need extra help, I can get extra help.
Yeah.
But all of this works together, and I don't resent or regret any of it. I don't know that it was a good thing, but I know that because I was given the possibility of responding to it from a place of recovery and a place of growth, that there are good things that can come out of it. And I like the person I am now, and I wouldn't be that person if things had gone differently for me.
Yeah.
You're going to be a really good therapist.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I think that's my questions issue today. I think I've just been drawing in about everything that you've had to say.
Yeah. God damn.
Appreciate that.
Do you have any other questions, Eric?
No, I think I'm out.
Yeah, dude. I have more written down, but I'm like, I think you answered all of it. Like, especially with that last answer, it was just fantastic. But we want to give you one last quick minute to talk to anybody out there struggling, needs to hear a message of hope. What do you have to say directly to them?
It doesn't matter what the weight of your past is. It doesn't matter what's coming down the pike tomorrow. We don't even know that. But right today, there are meetings open all around the city. There's meetings open all around the country. There's phone lines. There's people you can call. And there is always hope, and you don't have to use today. I mean, you can't say that, everybody I know that's had serious problems with addiction has had a lot of other stuff going on in their life too. But none of that is powerful enough to A, prevent you from getting clean, getting sober, or B, prevent you from finding a peace and a happiness in your life. So don't lose hope. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Think about what you can do today, and there's plenty of places to go for help with that.
Perfect. All right. Well, we would like to thank our guest Sam for joining us today.
Woo! Yay!
Fantastic job, dude. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us once again. Go to all our social media outlets: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go to our Patreon, because we need help keeping the mics on. So, throw us a few shekels.
Click all our links.
Click all the links. And go to our merch. And,
we got merch.
Pick up some cool shit. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, everybody out there.
Stay safe and stay clean.
There you go.